So welcome to Mac Basics. We're going to get started with the first topic here, which is the trackpad. So if you look at your own trackpad, you'll notice that there are no buttons on the trackpad, and that's because the entire trackpad is the button. It's made of glass, and it's a multi-touch, multi-directional trackpad. So what that means is that a lot of the same gestures you might already be used to using on a smartphone or an iPad, you're going to be able to replicate directly on the trackpad itself. There are a lot of built-in features of the trackpad. If you feel like there are certain things that you don't like or you're always accidentally doing something, you can turn it off in System Preferences. So if we go to System Preferences, this is the gear icon here. You can also get to System Preferences if you click on the Apple menu here at the top and then System Preferences. So however you want to get there, once the menu opens, you'll see that the trackpad has its own section here. You should see it in the middle in the second section. So if you click on that, we can go through this menu here and see the full functionality of the trackpad. And you can also see some of the things that you can change and customize for yourself. A couple just basic things that I want to go over in here. First thing, under the point and click menu, a secondary click or a right click is going to be just a 2-finger touch on the trackpad. So for all of these things, you can see it gives you a verbal description here on the left, but if you hover over any of these things, it'll play a little video for you on the right of what that functionality actually looks like. Another thing I want to point out under the scroll and zoom, this first menu option for scroll direction. If you want to scroll, it's going to be 2 fingers on the trackpad, regardless of if you're scrolling up and down on a page or if you're flipping from left to right. It's always going to be 2 fingers just lightly on the trackpad. So I won't go over all of these things individually because there's a lot of stuff in here, especially for you guys that have a newer machine. You might notice some additional things in here, specifically relating to the force touch functionality of the trackpad. So I have an older machine. I don't actually have force touch capability on mine, but you guys do. So I'm just going to kind of talk you through it because I can't show you. With the force touch, it is added functionality dependent upon the pressure that you're actually applying to the trackpad. So if you just take your finger on the trackpad and you press kind of lightly, you'll feel a little click. And then if you press a little harder than that, that's a force touch. So in the beginning, this could be really frustrating for people because you're accidentally using the force touch feature all the time when that's not actually what you're wanting to do. You're just wanting to click on something. So you might have noticed if you're trying to click on a link, instead of opening the link, it opens up like a little secondary window with the page information. That's what a force touch is. Once you get the pressure under control, force touch is actually a really cool feature. Some examples of what you can do with it: if you force click on a flight number, it'll open up a little secondary window with the flight information. If you do it on an address, it'll open up a secondary window with a map. All kinds of cool things. And it's really kind of an enhanced feature of the trackpad once you get the pressure of it under control. But that and anything else that the trackpad can do, like I said, if you don't like any of those things, you can turn them off just by unclicking the box next to it within the trackpad preferences. So next we're going to go to the menu bar. This is the menu bar here across the top of the screen. So if you've never used a Mac before, you might be used to seeing menu options like this actually attached to the window of whatever application it is that you're using. On a Mac, it's not like that. The menu bar stays at the top of the screen, and the menu options change to reflect whatever application you have running in the forefront. So there's a couple different components of the menu bar. This first thing here, this is the Apple menu. This is always going to be here. It doesn't change. And when you click on it, the options that you see are always going to be the same regardless of the application that you're currently running. So this is, again, a shortcut to System Preferences, all of your options regarding shutting down or restarting the computer. And you can also log out altogether from here. This next section, this is going to change dependent upon the application that you're currently running in the forefront. You'll be able to tell what application the menu items are reflecting because the name will be here in bold. And then these next things, they're going to change. So right now it's showing me the Finder menu, but if I bring this up again, because I'm using preview to show it to you, it's going to change the menu options to reflect the preview menu. So we're going to come back to this in a second. Moving on, this section here, this is the status portion of the menu bar. And then this magnifying glass is Spotlight Search. This is Siri, which this is a new function now with the Sierra operating system. And this is our notification center here. So these menu items in the status bar, this might look a little different for everybody because you can add or remove things up here depending on if you like having shortcuts up there or not. So a lot of these things, if you don't see it up here, you can add it through the system preferences for that. For example, this here is the Bluetooth shortcut. If you don't see it up here, you can go to System Preferences and then Bluetooth, and then just check this box at the bottom, Show Bluetooth and Menu Bar. So that'll be the case for a couple things. If you want to add anything up there that's able to, you can do it in the System Preferences. Also, with some applications that you install like separately that don't come as pre-installed on the Mac, like this, for example, is Dropbox. As you install certain applications, sometimes you'll have the option to add the menu option up here. These, they kind of just appear wherever, but if you want to change the order of these, you can. If you hold down on the Command key and then just click and drag, you can move some of these things around up here if you want to. So next to that, this is Spotlight Search. So Spotlight Search is also a really cool tool. It's not new or anything with this version of the operating system, but it does a lot. So in a nutshell, it can help you find applications, documents, photos, files. You can also use it to search the web for sports scores, the weather, movies, stock information, and it'll use Bing, Wikipedia, Maps, iTunes, depending on what you're looking for. So it's super easy to use. You just have to type in what you're looking for. You can type it in a sentence form if you want to, or you can kind of break it into like keywords. So for example, if you're looking for an email and you know it came from a specific professor, you could type in emails from Mr. Brown, and it will pull all the emails that came from his email address. I don't have my email launched, so I'm not going to show you that as an example. Also, if you're maybe looking for a file and you can't remember where you saved it to, but you know you worked on it last week, you could search for documents I worked on last week. And if you give it a second, it will pull all the different documents that I worked on, also from all the different programs that I use too. You can also use it to find photos. If you have photos saved on here, you can search for photos taken in New York City. And if you were using location services at the time, and the photos will be tagged and it will pull those for you. So it works kind of similar to Siri does if you're used to already using it on your phone. The difference is just that you're typing it in instead of saying it out loud. So with that in mind, Siri is the next menu option here at the top. And a lot of the same things you would use Spotlight Search for, you can use Siri for too. But the difference here is that you just ask her to do it out loud. She has a little bit more functionality. She can also open apps for you if you tell her to do that. Sometimes she can change the system preferences for certain things. She can also find a location for you, search the web. She can schedule things for you in your calendar, all kinds of stuff. So when you open Siri, she'll like prompt you to tell you or tell her what it is you want her to do. Kind of a fun thing to do is you can just ask her, hey Siri, what can you do? And she'll tell you stuff she can do, and she'll also offer suggestions in a text. So just, it's been kind of slow for me, but I'm going to try to show you anyway. If we click on her, it launches Siri. How far away is the sun? All right, she's still listening to me for some reason. Hold on, let's try this again. One more time. Hey Siri, how far away is the sun? There we go. Okay, so she just searched the web for me for this question. So this is cool. I can see at a glance the answer to my question, but maybe I asked her to look up something that I don't need right now, or maybe this is something that I want to reference later. So you can actually save her searches. If you click this plus sign here, and then it's going to add it to your notification center, which we're going to come to in a second. Another cool thing, oops, too soon. Another cool thing that you can do with Siri, you can use her to search the web like we just did. But in addition to saving things in your notifications, you can also drag and drop the search results directly to your desktop, to an email, to a document. So if we do it again, hey Siri, search the web for photos of the Great Barrier Reef. All right, so we've got some
images of the Great Barrier Reef I found on the web.
Perfect. So we've got some photos here. If I want to, I can just click and drag one of these photos directly onto my desktop to save it for later instead of saving the entire search like we did the first time around. So you can see this is the photo, and I can preview it, and that's saved directly from the Siri search. So last thing up here, this is the notification center. This is kind of a snapshot of your machine, one day at a time. So the today section is going to show us today. Obviously, the date is the first thing. This is showing here because this is what I saved from our Siri search before. If you want to get rid of it, you can just click the X here. It's also going to show you a snapshot of your calendar, the weather, stocks, and anything else you tell it to. This has its own settings as well. That's the today section. Next to that is the notification section. I don't have any right now, but a lot of things could potentially trigger a notification if you're using, if you're syncing with your phone and you get a text message, you'll get a notification for it. If you're using iTunes and the song changes, you'll get a notification for it, all kinds of things. You'll kind of see it like flash in the corner, and then it'll be in a list view here as well for you to view it later. So question, if you install Sierra, will it affect any of the programs or anything you have currently installed? You're going to want to check with your program director about that. I think that they were supposed to be contacting you guys when it was determined that it was okay to update to the latest operating system, but you're just going to want to make sure that it is before you do the installation. But in my experience, they've never told students to not update at some point. They just want to make sure that everything's compatible before they do. So that's going to be definitely you want to, or also FSO support or your program director. You can ask about that. All right, so that was the menu bar. We're going to go back to the help menu, which is always going to be in the menu bar here, but it's going to be a little different depending on the application that you're running. So if I'm just going to open Safari. So the help menu is really cool and useful, and it actually works. And there's a couple different ways you can use it. So if you click the help menu, say this was an application maybe that you've never used before. Usually this top option will say the application's name and help. So if you click on that, it'll give you like a little walkthrough of the application. Minus, of course. There we go. Sorry, it's being a little slow today, but hopefully it loads. Okay, there we go. So this is going to open the Safari help menu. So like I said, if this is an application that you've maybe never used before, once you go to the help menu, you can click overview. And then it's going to give you kind of an overview of how to use the application depending on what it is, and common things that people have questions about. It kind of goes over and explains to you basic navigation and stuff like that. So this will vary, of course, what it tells you in here depending on the application that you're using. The other thing you can do, if there's something specific that you're looking for, you can type in your own search terms here at the top. So maybe I just want to copy a link. So if I just type in copy, it'll pull suggestions for you down here. And if you hover your mouse over anything, it will actually show you where to go within the menu itself to perform that functionality. So these menu items here, this is going to show you where in the menu to actually achieve whatever you're trying to do. And then these things are help topics. So if you click on any of these, you can read information regarding this help topic. So this, again, you'll see the help menu in a lot of applications, and when you do, that's always going to be how it works. You can either take the tour or you can ask specific questions if you have any. All right, so next up is the dock. Let me close this. So this is the dock here. You can customize it, update where you see it on the screen, how big it is, also the applications that you see on it. All of these things can be customized. A good way to think about the dock before we start changing it, the dock is kind of a shortcuts menu, and it's a place to keep maybe the stuff that you would keep on your desktop in, kind of a little controlled, clean place instead. So you can save folders to the dock, applications, like I said, stuff that you maybe used to have all over your desktop, you can put it in the dock and it's nice and neat in there and everything's kind of in the same place. So if you haven't done anything to yours is probably across the bottom of the screen. If you want to change that, you can through the system preferences for the dock. So again, if we go to system preferences, which is the little gear, so we should see dock in the first row. And when you click on that, you can see some of the options as far as just customizing the way that it looks. So up at the top, you can change the size of it. Below that is the magnification, and what that is, you'll notice when you scroll over stuff, it gets a little bit bigger than the things around it. That's the magnification. You can also crank this up or down, or turn it off altogether if you just uncheck the box. Underneath that, this is where you can change where you see it. The only thing I want to go over under here is this last option. And what it says is show indicators for open applications. This is a really good tool to allow you to see any applications that you might have running, even though you're not using them. So we're going to come back to why that's important in a little while when we talk about battery life. But for right now, I just want to point it out because this is where you set the preference for it. If this isn't checked, it's a good idea to check it. It's really helpful for you to see kind of what's going on with your machine at a glance, and helps to kind of preserve your battery life as well. So most of this, like I said, is personal preference, but I would recommend that you opt in to show indicators for open applications if that's not already checked. Okay, so that's kind of how you can change where you see or what the dock looks like. And if you want to edit the applications that are actually on here, you can do that too. So my recommendation for the dock is that you definitely edit it, go through, take stuff off. It's not meant to be like a dumping ground for all the stuff on your computer. It's meant to be a quick, easy shortcut to get to stuff that you're using all the time. So if you're not using anything, if not daily, at least weekly, it probably doesn't need to be on your dock. The dock is not the only place these applications are located, and moving things around or taking them off is not going to delete them from your computer altogether. So with all that being said, if you want to take something off, super easy. Click and drag until you see the little remove flag, and then when you let it go, it's going to delete the shortcut. So I'm going to take two things off, and I'll show you two different ways to put them back on. So same thing, calendar. If I want to take it off, I'm going to click and drag, and when I see the flag, let it go, and then it's going to delete the shortcut. So if we go into the Finder, which is this little blue guy, and we're going to talk more about him in a second, but for right now, we'll just go into the Finder. And then you can see here on the left-hand side under Favorites, you should see an Applications folder. So this is going to show you a full list of the applications that you've got on your computer. So you can see that there's way more stuff in this folder than there is on my dock. And that's by design because I don't use this stuff all the time, so I don't feel that I need a shortcut to it. Alternately, you can see that things are housed in multiple locations. This, like for example, iTunes, it's in my applications folder still, but it's also on my dock. So this is just an additional place I can go to get to iTunes. And you'll see that a lot. There's more than one way to get to things sometimes. So one of the things I took off was the calendar. And also the other side of that is deleting things from the dock. Like I said, doesn't delete it from your machine, it just deletes the shortcut. So if I want to add something back, super easy. It's just kind of the reverse process. I'm going to click and drag it to where I want it, and then just drop it on the dock, and you can see that didn't take it out of the applications folder either. It's still in there, but now it's on my dock too. So this is the applications folder. Another place you can go to see the applications on your machine is this rocket icon. This is called the Launchpad. And this is the same information, just kind of a more visually appealing view, I guess. It's kind of a large icon view. Also, if you see that you have dots down here, this is telling you that you've got multiple pages of applications. So if you want to, you can scroll through them using the trackpad, 2 or 3 fingers. It's kind of tricky until you get the hang of it. Sometimes you have to space your fingers closer together or further apart. I'm actually using my mouse and scrolling that way, but you can do it from the trackpad too. So the other thing I took off was Spotify. So Spotify is still here. Same thing from this screen. I'm going to click and drag and drop it where I want it. Still on my Launchpad, but now there's a shortcut to it on the dock too. And we're going to talk in the section that we talk about battery life, about how to make sure that you've quit out of applications and make sure that applications aren't running in the background. All right, so we're going to return to System Preferences. System Preferences, again, is this little gear icon here. So there's nothing specific that I want to talk about in here, just to draw your attention to the different topics that are in here. If there's something that you want to change regarding your iCloud account, any users for your machine, your Bluetooth settings, if you need to see any network information, all that kind of stuff is in here. And this is where you can go to update those things. So system preferences, you can get to it either, like I said, from the gear or the Apple menu, system preferences. And from here, you can update, just like it says, the preferences for a lot of different topics here. So if you're looking for something and you don't see it in the menu option, the general menu option, you can go into system preferences to see if it's in there. All right, so trash. This is your trash folder here on the dock. It's either at the bottom if you have it on the side, or if your dock is across the bottom of the screen, it's going to be on the right-hand side. So when you delete stuff, it doesn't go away. The trash can is kind of like the halfway point between not being in your folder anymore to being completely deleted from your machine altogether. So what I mean by that is if you delete a document, that just hitting delete, if you right click on it and then move to trash, that's exactly what it's doing. It's moving it to the trash can, but it's not deleting it from your computer. So that's kind of good. If you accidentally delete something, or you delete something and then decide a week later that you still want it, you can still access it from your trash. But it's a good idea to go through here. You don't have to do it super often, maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month, but you want to go through and delete your trash folder, because if you don't, all the files just kind of build up in there, and it's just not optimal, for the speed of your computer if you have a bunch of stuff on there, and also it'll affect your storage too. So you want to make sure that you delete your trash every once in a while, and to do it, it's super easy. You just right click on it. When you do, there's only 2 options. You can either open it to see what's in there, or you can empty it. Okay, so we're going to go back to the Finder. And the Finder, again, is this little blue guy here at the top. So the Finder, we've kind of been in and out of here in the Applications folder, but a good way to think about the Finder is like the Windows Explorer if you were using a Windows machine before. So you go to the Finder to find all the files, applications, folders, documents, all that kind of stuff is in the Finder. So you can see here under favorites, this is kind of the different folders that you're looking at overall. And then within here, you have things saved. So you can customize this, the way you view the files, and also what you see here under favorites. So there's different views for the Finder. That's what these things are here. So if you click through these, you can see these are going to be listed alphabetically no matter what view you're using. And then from here, you can see these are just the different ways you can view your files. Most of them are self-explanatory, but I do always like to point out this last one. This is kind of like modeled after iTunes. So if you have your cursor up here in this top section, if you scroll from right to left, you can flip through the folders at the top. And then when you stop on something, it'll highlight it in this list at the bottom. And then if you move your mouse to the bottom and you scroll from here, you can go through the list. And then if you click on something, it'll bring the image associated with it to the forefront at the top. So whatever you like, the Finder will learn your preferences. It'll default to whatever view you were using when you last had it open. So if you pick a view, close it, you open it again, it's going to default to that last view. Regarding this favorites section, you can customize this as well. If you click here on the word Finder at the top, and then preferences, it's probably going to default to the general tab, but what we want is sidebar. It's the third one in. So here under favorites, this is where you can add or remove different categories to have your files saved under. So same thing kind of like with the doc. If you're not using a certain category, or you just don't like it, like the all my files drives me crazy because it's just every file on your computer and it looks like a mess to me, so I don't like to have it on there. So if you want to add anything, you can just check it, and if you want to remove it, uncheck it. This is totally user preference. The only thing I want to point out in here is the downloads folder. It's nice to have a quick, easy way to get to the downloads folder, because anytime you download anything, it's going to go to that folder. So it's a nice idea, or it's nice just to kind of have a shortcut to it. Okay, iCloud Drive is our next topic, which we're going to go actually back into the Finder to talk about. You'll notice that iCloud Drive is under the favorites if you have the preference set for it. So iCloud Drive is pretty cool with Sierra. It lets you access anything that you have stored in here from any other device that's signed in with the same iCloud account and you're using the iCloud app for. So if you open a file on your laptop and then you want to look at it from your phone or show somebody later, you can open it from your phone. If you make a change from your phone, it will update automatically to your laptop. So it's kind of like, Google Drive. You can save documents and update them, and then they sync across devices. So everything automatically stays up to date, and there's nothing more that you have to do. So I don't use my iCloud Drive on this machine, but a lot of people, they save their whole documents folder in their iCloud Drive. And then any changes you make, like I said, you'll be able to access across devices. And this is with any, of course, and only any iCloud compatible device. So the only thing about this is you get 5 gigs of free storage, and then anything more than that, if you run out of space, you have to pay to update it. But it's still a pretty cool tool, and that lets you access your files from multiple devices. The question is, when you delete items from the download folder, it deletes the copied items also. How do I delete from the download without it deleting the copy in another location? So if you delete a file, it's deleted. So if you want to make a duplicate of a file first, if you right click on it, you can duplicate it from here. But if you delete the file, it's going to be deleted, if that makes sense. You can move it out of the downloads folder. So, if you downloaded something and it's in the folder, you can just click and drag it into another folder, or you can click and drag it onto the desktop or wherever you want to put it. But if you delete the file, it's going to delete it from the computer. It shouldn't be deleting the copy, though. If you made a copy of it, the copy should stay. It should only be deleting the physical file that you're actually deleting, if that makes sense. Okay, so kind of related to iCloud Drive is Time Machine. Time Machine is a built-in backup feature for the Mac. So Time Machine also, just to give you something to look at, if we go to System Preferences, you can find it in there. Time Machine, you should see it in the second to last row. It's this kind of teal like circle that looks like a clock. So Time Machine, like I said, it's the built-in backup feature for Macs, but you do have to give your files somewhere to back up to. So this does require an external hard drive to be able to use it, but once you have one and you plug it in, it'll ask you if you want to use Time Machine, and then once you have it all set up, it will back up your entire machine. It will do an hourly backup for the past 24 hours, keep daily backups for the month, and weekly of all previous months. So when your device gets full, it'll start to delete the oldest version of the backup first. So Time Machine is awesome just because, these are machines. Sometimes things go wrong. And if anything did ever happen to your laptop, if it was lost or stolen or became inoperable for some reason, if you don't back up your work, you're going to lose it. So Time Machine is a good solution to that. Also, Time Machine, if you made a change to a file and you didn't like it, you could go into Time Machine and find a previous version of it and restore it from your Time Machine backup. So it's not just it for use in worst case scenario. You can also kind of use it in semi-regular usage. If you just wanted to restore a previous version of something that you had, you can use the Time Machine backup for that. Okay, so next is mission control and split view. I'm going to kind of talk about them together. So mission control, what it allows you to do is have multiple applications running, which of course you can anyway, but it allows you to utilize the full space of the screen for each application that you have running. So if you have a couple of applications running, I'll open Safari, I'll open my notes. So once things do start to open, they kind of overlap. You can, manually resize these windows if you want to, but either way, you're not going to be able to utilize them in the full space of the screen. So Time Machine allows you to do that. So you can launch Time Machine if you either press F3 on your keyboard up at the menu bar at the top, or if you take 4 fingers and swipe away from yourself on the trackpad, so from the bottom to the top, this activates Time Machine. So once you have it activated, if you want to, you can assign each of these items their own desktop space. So the easiest way to do it is if you click and drag, you can pop it up there. So now Notes is the only thing on this first desktop space, which you can see up at the top here, and Safari is the only thing on the second desktop space. The other thing you can do, if you move your mouse to this top right corner where the plus sign is, you can see this little box pops out. If you click that plus sign, it'll open up an additional desktop space that way. So however you want to do it, either by dragging the application directly to the menu bar or dragging the application to an empty desktop space. So once you do that, now again, if you take 4 fingers and swipe across the trackpad, but this time we're going from right to left, you can say I have a blank desktop space. Safari is the only thing on my second, and Notes is the only thing on my first. So to me, it allows me to kind of stay organized and to have multiple things open, but not sacrifice the full space of the screen. Okay, so with that, split screen kind of does the same thing, but you don't get the full space of the screen. So in order to see if an application is compatible with split screen, because unfortunately they aren't all compatible, if you click on this little, or hover over the green circle in the top left corner, you can see that it has arrows. And if you hold down on the arrows, this is how you can tell split screen is going to work. Sorry, let me do that again because that was kind of fast. So if you hold down on the arrows, it's going to resize the window. And then you have the option to drag it either to the right or left side of the screen. So I'm going to leave it on the left. And now it'll show you any other applications that you have open on the right side. And if I want to utilize split screen, all I have to do is click on it. And then it's going to automatically resize that window too. So now I have an even split for the 2 applications that I'm using. If you want to give more space to one versus the other, you can drag this middle line here just by clicking and dragging. You can resize the space of the screen. So not every application is compatible with split screen. If it isn't, it'll tell you. When you hover over it, it'll tell you that you can't utilize split screen in this application. So that's one way you can launch split screen. The other way is from full screen mode. So if you just click the screen button, this is going to enter full screen, which, as the name implies, the window you're using is going to take up the full space of the screen. Then if you activate mission control again, which again is either F3 or 4 fingers on the trackpad, anything else that you have open that's compatible, you can actually click and drag it up onto the same window from mission control. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. No way is necessarily better than the other. So this is just some ways, both mission control and split screen, that your Mac kind of allows you to customize what you're seeing and the space that you're allotting each item on the screen. Okay, so next is Safari. Safari is the built-in browser for the Mac, so we'll talk about it a little bit. You don't have to use it, if you don't want to, but we just go over it because it is the built-in preferred browser for a Mac. So this is the Safari icon here. It looks like a compass. Safari, you also can customize some of the menu options that you see across the top here. So if you have never used Safari before, this might look kind of pared down. That's by design. Safari is trying now to better showcase the web content that you're looking at and not so much all the buttons and bells and whistles and stuff that Safari can actually do. So a lot of things that have been removed from the menu bar you can put back if you want to. If you go up at the top here, if you click on the word view, and then from that menu select customize toolbar. So this is going to allow you to add additional menu items to this menu bar here at the top that's actually attached to the Safari window. So like for me, for example, I put the print button back here because I like to have one-click access to print. So this is going to look different. Everybody kind of navigates differently. So it'll look different for all of us. But if you do want to add something up here, it's super easy. You just click and drag to where you want it to be on the menu bar, and it will add that functionality for you. So our menu bars, like I said, will all end up looking different, but something that will always be the same is this box here in the middle. This is our address bar. It's also a search bar, so if you put something up here that is not a web address, it's going to Google the results for you automatically, so you don't necessarily have to go to Google first. You can use the search bar. If you click on it, you can see this opens up another kind of like secondary menu section. This top section, these are shortcuts that have been created by Apple. So they're not bookmarks or anything that I created for myself. They're just quick links that Apple has provided for its users. And for any of these things, if you click on them, it will automatically launch whatever it is, the page. This section at the bottom, these are my frequently visited websites. Again, they're not bookmarks that I set for myself. These are just websites that my machine recognizes that I navigate to frequently. So it's kind of saved me a little shortcut. And these will change. You'll notice, if you don't go to a website for a couple days and you go to a new one instead, the new one will replace the old one here. But the same thing applies if you click on anything. You can launch it directly from the menu option for it. Couple other things. This down-facing arrow here, you might not see it. This is a shortcut also to your downloads folder, but it's not there all the time. It's just kind of like a temporary folder. So you won't see it if A, you haven't downloaded anything recently, or maybe you did download something a couple days ago, but it's not in the folder anymore because it's just kind of a temporary folder. But anyway, if you download something and you want to get to it quickly, this is the shortcut here. This button, let me do this one first. This plus sign allows you to open an additional tab. And then once you have a couple open, this button here allows you to see all the tabs that you have open. And then you can easily navigate back and forth or open a new tab from here as well. If you do want to add a bookmark, you can do that. You can see bookmarks as its own menu option in Safari. So if you click on that, you can see all of your bookmarks. So these are my true bookmarks. I set these for myself. They're not kind of the temporary bookmarks that we talked about in this menu. And if you want to add a bookmark, you can do it from here. Select Add Bookmark, or the hotkey or keyboard shortcut, whatever you want to call it, is Command D to do it. And however you do, you can save them from here. Also, if you go to Show Bookmarks, this will open up a little side menu from here. Then you can also organize these things by folder. You can group them. You know, if you put all your school stuff together or whatever, you can organize them by folder. Last thing I want to talk about in Safari is the preferences for Safari. So if you click on the word Safari, then Preferences. And we want the General tab, which is the first one. From here, this is where you can go to update your home page if you want to. You can either manually type it in here, or I think it's a little easier if you actually navigate to that page first, then open the preferences and select Set to Current Page. It'll automatically pull that page address in here for you, so you don't have to type it in. From here, you can also change if you want a new window or a new tab to open with something other than the home page. You can specify it here. And this is also where you can go to manage your history. Additional browser, just kind of a talking point. There's nothing for me to show you here, just to talk about the importance of downloading an additional browser. Because even though, you know, I use Safari all the time, mostly, certain websites are just not compatible with certain browsers. So if you're ever trying to log in or get a page to load and it just won't do it, a good kind of do-it-yourself troubleshooting thing is just to try it in a different browser, because sometimes some are just better than others for certain things. So it doesn't take long, whatever, when you want, Chrome, Firefox, both of them, go ahead and download an additional browser. This way you have it, because you know, if you do run into an issue and you call FSO support about it, they're going to ask you, well, hey, did you try it, you know, in a different browser? And if you don't even have one downloaded, it's just going to add a whole nother step to their troubleshooting process. So whatever you like, just go ahead and make sure that you do download an additional browser. Battery life. So these machines, the new ones, well, all of them really, but in the newest model, you have up to 9 hours of battery life. This is, of course, going to change depending on the applications that you're running. If you're, you know, doing super heavy editing or you have a ton of things open, it's going to vary. But general web browsing and usage, you can expect to have up to 9 hours. With that being said, of course, there are certain things that you can do to help preserve the life of your battery. And this goes back to what somebody asked before about applications running in the background. So you'll be able to tell at a glance what applications you have running by looking at your dock. So if you do look at the dock, anything that has this little black dot next to it, this is telling me that these applications are still running in the background, even though I don't have anything currently open. So some of these I'm using and some of them I'm not. So Safari, I'm not using it, I don't have it minimized, but the dot is still here. So if I open Safari, just to show you, in most cases, clicking this red X up here in the top left corner is not quitting out of a program. All it's doing is closing the window, but it's still running in the background, and the dot is telling me that it is. So there's 3 different ways to physically quit out of a program. The first way if you click on the program name here in the menu bar, you can select quit. Second way, from the dock itself, if you right click on it, you can select quit from the secondary click menu. And the third way, if you're a fan of keyboard shortcuts, Command Q is the shortcut to quit. So however you want to do it, once you quit out of a program, you'll see that the window closes and the dot goes away. So it's a good habit to get into. Always quit out of your programs, because if you don't, they're going to continuously run in the background, and it's just going to kind of chew into your battery when it's not necessary, because you're not using those programs anyway. Some other things you can adjust for your battery is your screen brightness. If you need to, you can turn it down. The F1 key is going to turn it down. F2 will turn it back up. Same thing, key brightness, you can turn up or down. F5 is going to turn it down. F6 is going to turn it up. If it's not happening, it's because it's sensing that there's already enough light, so it won't turn the keyboard back up. Also, you can turn off your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi if you're getting really desperate, or if you're in class and you just don't need it. You can turn both of those off as well, especially Bluetooth. If you're not using a device that requires it to connect wirelessly, I would just turn it off, because otherwise it's going to be constantly searching for something to connect to. So mine is on because I use a wireless mouse. You can see it's connected. But at home, I don't use my mouse, and if I was using my laptop, I would turn off the Bluetooth just to kind of save battery. So battery life and closing applications, those two pretty much go hand in hand. Last few things, updates and App Store. So there is a shortcut for the App Store. You might see it on your dock. I have removed mine, but I will show you what it looks like. This is the quick link to the App Store. So when it does have this red circle with a number in it, it's telling you that for me, I have two applications that can be updated right now. The other way you can see, if you go to the Apple menu, you can get to the App Store from here too. So once you launch it, you'll see the update section here at the top right. And if you click on that, it's going to show you what's available to update. So I do have outstanding updates, but when you do see that you have updates, you can just go ahead and update them. In most cases, you don't need to wait for approval or for anybody to tell you to do it. You can just go ahead and do it. The only exception would be, and this is only going to be once a year, when an entirely new version of the operating system is released, like Sierra, you would want to wait until you get approval from your program director. And this goes back to what somebody asked before, are updates going to mess with my programs or affect what I already have on my computer? And the answer is sometimes we don't know. And so we want to make sure that your program director gives approval before everybody goes and updates their machines. So aside from that, any other updates that you see, you can go ahead and do as soon as you see them. And I just haven't done this one yet because it requires a restart and I haven't wanted to wait around for it to be done. But again, anytime you see an update, you can just go ahead and do it from there. And then this is also the App Store. So if you want to download an app, you can browse. If there's something specific that you're looking for, you can use the search bar. Otherwise, you can just kind of check out what's featured and popular. But this is where you can go to download new apps. Last thing is standby. So with Macs, they don't need to be shut down when you're done using them. When you are done, you can either physically put them to sleep if you want to, or you can just close the lid. So closing the lid, it does put the machine to sleep. And after 3 hours, it's going to enter a state called standby. And in that state, it's using very little battery. If you had a full battery when you did it, you can actually leave it that way for up to 30 days. And when you return, you'll still have battery left. And what it does when you do that is it automatically saves whatever you're working on to the flash storage. And when you open the lid again, it wakes instantly and it takes you back exactly to where you were before you closed it. So it's a good way to conserve energy, and it's less wear and tear on your battery to do that versus shutting it down every time you're done using it. 30 days, granted, is kind of a long time. If you're not going to use your computer for 30 days, you probably can just turn it off. But if it's just over the weekend or something, definitely put it into standby. And don't worry about always shutting it down when you're done. So this address here, getsupport.apple.com. This is Apple's support page. If you have any additional questions or anything we didn't talk about today, you can find a lot of helpful information on their page. They also have a whole section for people who are switching from a Windows interface to Apple, how to kind of break some of those Windows habits and learn some of the new, navigator and user things for an Apple. Also, if you ever need to schedule an appointment at the Genius Bar, you can do it through there. Please schedule an appointment if you ever need to take your laptop in. The average wait time we have guys from Apple come in every month and they say it's at least an hour if you don't have an appointment. So please make sure you schedule an appointment before you show up. Otherwise, you could be there all day. But all those things you can accomplish, again, at getsupport.apple.com.